Okay, good evening, everyone. Nice to have you all around. So, just want to share a little bit on how we are going to conduct this meeting. So, I do a small presentation. Okay. PK, you all have to help me with the, what do you call that?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Admitting people, because
to admit them?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, what we have done is that we have muted all the participants so that everyone will have a better experience, okay? We don't get any unexpected interruptions. So if you have any questions, you please put them in the chat box. The chat box is actually at the bottom of the screen when you move your cursor down. Okay, it's there, okay? You see the bubble that says chat, you click on that one, then you post your questions, okay? And you please post your questions as it comes, okay? You don't have to wait until the end of the presentation. But then the presenter will only answer your questions at the end of the presentation because he can't see the chat box when he's presenting. All right? So we also would recommend that you choose speaker's view so that you can follow the presentation better. So to select speaker view is right at the top there, top of the Zoom screen. You click on the speaker view, and then whenever the speaker talks, his screen would be the one that is presented. Okay, I think that's about all that I have to say. So let me pass it over to PK Chan, who will be doing the welcoming. All right, PK, over to you.
Okay.
PK, you ready?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Won Chan, who is the Vice President of Rubber of the Plastic and Rubber Institute Malaysia, or Prim. Of course, we have the second Vice President in Plastics, who is Miss Francesca Neto. Yeah, I noted that she is also in this meeting. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depends where you are. On behalf of the Management Committee of the Plastic and Rubber Institute Malaysia, I'd like to express my grateful thanks for your participation in our webinar number 2. Okay, as you know that the last one was held about 2 months ago. I'd like to express my appreciations to the participations of members from our counterparts, the Plastic and Rubber Institute Sri Lanka. Yeah, we have quite a number of the members who have joined in this evening. I also like to thank our OC friend, also my former colleague, Steve Chong from Melbourne, and Rehan from London. It's indeed a great opportunity at these sessions to have 2 distinguished speakers with us. The first speaker is Dr. ROLAND, a Senior Research Officer from the Malaysian Rubber Board. He will deliver a talk which related to IR, or Industry 4.0, or the 4th generations of industrial revolutions. What does Industry 4.0 mean to us, and how relevant for Industry 4.0 for adoptions in the rubber industry? We look forward to his talk. We also honored to have the second speaker, Ms. V. Chin Yun, who is Chairman of the Sustainability Subcommittee of the Malaysian Plastic Manufacturer Association. She is going to address the concern or even questions of sustainability of plastics. As one mentioned, there will be a Q&A after each delivery. As mentioned by one, please type in your questions in the chat box below your Zoom screen. Yeah, as he's mentioned, you can type in your questions when the talk is underway. However, your questions will be addressed or answered at the end of each delivery. Without further ado, I'll invite the first speaker to present his talk, but please allow me to briefly introduce Dr. Roland NGEOW. He is currently involved in data analytic research on natural rubber price movement in Malaysia. His research involves utilizing machine and deep learning algorithms to analyze and predict large data sheets. He has 14 years of experience in the Malaysian Rubber Board. He was conferred a PhD from the Imperial College London in UK. His doctorate research focused on the development of silica silane technology for green tires. He is involved in MRB's technical service or technical advisory service, where he provides advisory works for rubber products manufacturers in Malaysia. In relation to his knowledge and expertise in rubber products, Dr. Roland was awarded 5 patents from the USA and Australia, as well as a patent pending from European Union. He has published his research work in a number of publications, which include American Chemical Society. By the way, Dr. Roland is also the honorary secretary of our institute. Dr. Roland, I hand over to you for your speech.
Thank you, PK, for the introductions. I'll now share my screen. Okay. PK, can you see my main screen now?
Yes, perfect.
Thank you.
Full screen now.
Right. Good evenings, mornings, or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you are. First, I would like to thank Mr. PK Chan and Prim Management Committee members for the invitation to this webinar and for giving me the opportunity to talk about embracing Industry 4.0 in the rubber industry. I would like to thank my research institutions as well, Malaysian Rubber Board, for their continuous support in allowing me to present in this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, I will begin with a short introduction of MRB, followed by profile of Malaysia rubber industry, then industrial revolution. I will share some case studies using elements in IR4, and finally, some Malaysian rubber industrial activities. As some of you may already know, MRB is the custodian of Malaysian rubber industry. MRB objective remain the same. First, to promote and develop the rubber industry. Second, to develop policies to ensure the orderly development of rubber industry in Malaysia. With this, MRB has been given 14 official functions, which can be categorized into 3 broad categories. The top priorities in MRB is R&D, in terms of function, to support the growth of the industry in a competitive way. Second, to provide services to the rubber industry, which is important to support the local manufacturer to attain local and global rubber competitiveness. For an example, MRB Testing Center, Global Testing and Consultancy for Rubber, GTAC. We have certification system for various rubber products as an assurance on the quality, reliability, and safety of product. This is to meet the national and international standard or specification. Such certification, ladies and gentlemen, include standard Malaysian glove for powder-free and powdered glove. Other include Ecoprina, surgical glove, air brake hose, Kaplan modified bitumen. The MRB product certification system for rubber products is such a system which provides this assurance of conformity under the authority of Malaysian Rubber Board Incorporation Act 1996, Act 551. Lastly, of the official function is develop policies and regulations. In this slide, ladies and gentlemen, I will describe briefly the current status of Malaysian natural rubber industry for the year 2020. The profile of Malaysian rubber industry was also mentioned in the last Prim webinar, but I will still give a brief explanation about this topic as we have new audience. As you can see from the slide, Malaysian rubber industry is growing orderly. More than 500,000 people are involved in this industry, from upstream, midstream, and downstream. Looking at specific sector, we have 436,000 registered smallholders from the upstream. Out of this, we have 11,000 people who are involved in commercial estates. In the midstream sector, ladies and gentlemen, we have approximately 9,000 employees. For downstream sector, we have more than 80,000 employees. This number is still growing. MRB is focusing now in the expansion of downstream sector, where smart manufacturing for Industry 4 is required for further expansion. Looking at the next slide, Malaysian position in various rubber industry sectors. Malaysia has attained the largest producer for medical gloves. We have been sustaining this status for over 10 years now. Malaysia is also the largest producer for nitrile butadiene rubber, NBR. Currently, we are the 4th largest exporters for natural rubber. And in terms of consumer, Malaysia has moved up to become the top 7 natural rubber consumer in the world. Overall, the rubber industry has achieved about 5.7 cumulative annual growth rate from 2000 to 2019 over 20 years period. My data also shown that the downstream sector has grown from 42% to 57% in just last year in 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next few slides, I will be sharing the Industrial Revolution development and some case studies in Elements 4.0. Machine has always done great and amazing things. We are in another industrial revolution. Nowadays, machines are becoming intelligent, like our human body. We see with our eyes, that is sensing. We move with our arms and legs, that is actuation. Process with our minds, that is process control. You may imagine that machines in the past are like actuation. Over the year, we added sensors, but missing the key things, that's the artificial intelligence. So why do we have 4th revolution? First, steam machine using water and steam power in the 17th century. Second, linear assembly system, Henry Ford Model T, the famous Henry Ford Model T by Ford Motor Company in the 18th century. Third, robot that entered to our factory in the 20th century. And fourth is a combination of machine and intelligence, artificial intelligence of data, which include cyber physical system, Internet of Things, augmented reality, big data, and so on. All these IR4 elements, like autonomous robots, additive manufacturing, or big data analytics, are already assisted today. But these technologies are not full-blown yet. They need human interaction to improve and to be fully connected to each other. Over the next few years, significant increase in data usage will occur in manufacturing sectors, creating digital twins that improve our manufacturing efficiency. This revolution, ladies and gentlemen, will change the way we do our business, operate, design, produce, and the way on how we work in the world of labor. Machines will not be able to do the work on their own. Interaction with humans remains a critical success factor. More importantly, ladies and gentlemen, the cost of production should always be reduced when implementing elements in IR4. Now, I would like to share some case studies related to human-machine interaction in predictive analytics, creating a digital twin. IR4 is not all about robotics, as you may see in some advert with vested interests. This involves data collection or big data collection, depending on the problem. It can be done through IoT, cloud computing, to store your data. However, human intervention is required to create an AI for a particular task. Understanding the data, structuring, before using the set of data for analysis and further development. We need to structure the overflow of the data before a machine can be carried out self-monitoring, self-diagnosing, without the need of human intervention. That's a limitation at the moment. Predictive analytics can reduce human cognitive biases in decision-making, such as availability, emotion, or confirmation biases. Cognitive biases are systematic patterns of deviation from norm and or rationality in judgment. For an example, I'm sharing some of my published and unpublished work. I have a set of vulcanized compounds properties. Abrasion performance is the key characteristic that I am interested to predict. In this case, abrasion is labeled as the response in my analysis. The rest of the physical properties in my analysis, such as hardness, tensile elongation, modulus, angle tear, reborn resilience, are the predictors. Using circle fit or stepwise analysis model, I am able to predict the abrasion performance of my rubber compound by observing other parameters such as tensile strength, hardness, and so on. Here we have root mean square error, RMSE, which is standard deviation of the residual. Residual is referring to predictions errors. Lower value of RMSE indicate better fit. And next, the R square is a goodness of fit measure for the models. In general, the higher the R square, the better the model fits my data. It can be seen here in table A. Circle fit model seems to produce a better prediction, but require 8 predictors. From this study, depending on your requirements, ladies and gentlemen, in your factories or your laboratory, perhaps 5 predictors or properties are needed to predict the abrasion resistant performance of your compound. In case study 2, I use deep learning approach to predict the filler dispersion in my rubber compound. Theoretically, once we know the filler micro dispersion efficiency in the rubber phase, we are able to predict whether a mixing was done properly in the production line. Here I use 25 layers of artificial neural network, AlexNet model. The validity accuracy is 57.1%. At this moment, ladies and gentlemen, the time required to produce TEM micrograph is time consuming. Hopefully, it will be useful in your future. This is similar concept to Google Cloud Vision API. where the algorithm developed by Google were used to interpret the image, whether it's human, machine, or animal. You can try Google search on Google Cloud Vision API and upload any image that you would like to. In these slides, ladies and gentlemen, the data set is related to natural rubber price over 28 years period. Using machine learning, part of the processing towards AI analysis, I am able to identify the key factors such as crude oil and synthetic rubber price that move the NR prices and predict the NR price movement in Malaysia. Kindly note that this is a yearly data set. This is not reflecting the daily NR price, which is a main concern by majority in the rubber industry. The R squared in my predictive analysis is 0.952. The next stage of my study in this data set is the monthly and daily data set. In my fourth case study, is using IR4 tools were implemented to assist in monitoring and digitizing rubber smallholders in Malaysia. Local climate, soil condition, plant disease, type of rubber tree clones were collected. Then the data is transferred into an online software, ArcGIS, and rubber plantation mapping is developed. Digitizing data can be used to recommend appropriate fertilizers and pesticides for rubber planters. Having this simple human-machine interaction, it improves the rubber trees planting in Malaysia. In my last slide, ladies and gentlemen, these are the few activities related to IR4 that has occurred in Malaysia rubber industry. Year 2012, MRB launched automatic rubber tapping system, ARTS. 2018, Hatta Lega announced launching of their next generation manufacturing complex. Last year, Toyo Tire Malaysia completed their state-of-art manufacturing facilities expansion. And this year, MRB launched Prim Niaga by digitizing all the sales of rubber transaction in Malaysia. MRB is also developing e-dry rubber products platform through digitizing updated rubber formulary. For further information on MRB gaps and challenge toward IR4, kindly refer to MRB Rubber Technology Development publication for this year. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roland, for a very enlightened or insightful talk, on the embracing Industry 4.0 in the rubber industry. Yeah, he has talked about, the importance, moving forward in adopting this Industry 4.0. He highlighted that the importance of human interactions with the machine or with the robots is most important. Yeah, that's why we have this artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, which he mentions. And of course, his research work right now, is talking about, using those predictors to determine the performance of rubber products. For example, the abrasion resistance, which is very interesting. I'll say, as you know, we all involved with rubber research. We have to do lots of laboratory tests, and even field trials in order to predict the performance or determine the performance, and with his model, hopefully, we can actually simplify all this testing, perhaps, and to fast track in terms of determining performance of rubber products. Yeah. Any questions for Dr. Roland? I've not seen any question at the chat box right now. Please type in your questions.
Okay, there's one.
Okay.
It's from
Is there questions?
There's one question.
No question, huh? Okay.
One question, there's one question.
Oh, okay. Can you read out, please?
From How?
Okay.
Roland, can you see the question? In the
Yeah, I
chat?
think you're referring to the first question by Miss Li Ping. Is there
Yeah.
any
Is that, oh, there's another question, is it?
uh,
There's,
yeah, I saw two questions here.
okay.
So the first question by Li Ping is there any info on supporting industries like suppliers to rubber manufacturer? How can we be able to catch up with the manufacturers to be in line on Industry 4.0? Li Ping, are you referring to the context for the suppliers in Malaysia and overseas for Malaysian rubber industry? Okay. Yes.
You have to look at the chat box for her answer.
Agree. I think what I can answer here is that perhaps in the near future, we will digitize all this information, which will be available on server, either in MRB server or other server that we have run, will be available to be accessed by those who have concern for the context. And another question from T. Hao Pam. Thanks a lot for your sharing. Regarding abrasion prediction, there is any range of the data input? I would say that at this moment, because the data set that I have obtained, which is from our laboratory, and I also believe that each manufacturer's factories or laboratories can collect their own set of data. And this set of data can vary from one company to another companies. And depending on what abrasion analysis that you want to carry out, as long as you have sufficient data in terms of the abrasion performance relate to other physical properties, there shouldn't be any range limitation in your abrasion analysis. And you can correlate or get good algorithms that can predict the abrasion performance of the rubber product that being produced from your factories or your laboratories.
There's another question from Dr. Wu.
Thanks, Roland. Hopefully, he has answered question from Hao, Dr. Hao. Yeah.
Oh, Dr. Hao, yeah.
There's another question from Dr. Wu regarding the budget.
For this, I think Industrial 4 as a whole, or it's a general word. There's a lot of element involved in IR4 implementation. And what I would suggest is that you have to look into your company or your production line on which area that you would like to improve, and utilizing the elements 4.0 that you have in improving your production. So I would say that the cost varies. And more importantly, when you implement 4.0 is to improve your company efficiency by lowering your overall production costs.
Okay, more questions coming in?
Any more questions for Dr.
Yes,
Roland?
there are more questions.
Okay.
Okay, have you already got MIS done based on new technology, and are you willing to share it with other rubber manufacturing countries? I may need your help is what is the meaning of MIS?
MIS.
This is forwarded by Asela Atapatu. I believe our friends from Sri Lanka.
Asila, can you, management information systems, yeah. It's a management information systems.
Oh, okay, okay. I do not have this information in hand, but I believe in general, these are all related to data collections and how you utilize this data for your operation, productions, or any analysis that you have in mind.
Okay, thank you. If no question, maybe I ask the last questions before we move on to the second speaker. Dr. Roland, it's a general questions. What do you see, for the adoptions of Industry 4.0 for the SME, small medium industries in Malaysia? Because you have been talking about automations, collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, all linked in. You think that this SME can start to embrace this Industry 4.0? If not, how do they take the first step, in doing that?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mr. PK. I think firstly, SME will have to look into their in-house system or their company efficiency. By knowing how the department works, the efficiency of each department, and with that, they should be able to narrow down on which is their priorities, concern to take care or further develop. From there, they can look through various methods. Example like in quality control, you have seen some manufacturers in Malaysia have purchased a system using a visual approach, whereby the visual system have captured their products into their system algorithm. By running through your production line with so-called your ready products, the system should be able to pick up which product is having problems, defects, and with the visual detection, you should be able to remove your defect products. By doing so, I believe you should be able to reduce the number of labor that you require in your quality control department. So this is one good example. There are many other examples as well. Example like in your production line, say that you have 4 production lines, and you can monitor how many products that has been produced by each operators in a particular shift. By doing so, you can know which operator can produce or effective in their work, and you can plan accordingly to improve your production efficiency. So these are a few things that we can find in elements Industry 4.0 that should be able to help SME in Malaysia to improve their companies.
Oh, thank you, Ron. I appreciate for the answer to all these questions. Yeah, let's move on to the second speaker, who is Ms. Wee Chin Yuen from Malaysian Plastic Manufacturer Associations. Undoubtedly, the current COVID-19 pandemic has adversely impacted all walks of life. It was reported there has been a surge in the consumptions of plastic materials, along with, of course, non-plastic packaging materials, due to the fact that there are more takeaways during this period. There is always questions asked about disposal, recycling, and sustainability. So the speaker this evening to address this topic is none other than the chairman of Sustainability Subcommittee of MPMA. But before that, just let me introduce Ms. Wee. Ms. Wee is the chairman, as mentioned earlier, is chairman of MPMA Sustainability Subcommittee since its inception November 3 years ago. She is also the managing director of Chunghwa Plastic Sdn Bhd. By the way, Chunghwa Plastic Sdn Bhd is also one of the patron members of our institute. As you know that we have corporate memberships. They are known as patrons. So thank you very much, Ms. Wee, for having so many years in supporting PRM as a patron member. Ms. Wee holds a Bachelor of Economics from York University, Canada. She is a strong advocate on plastics and its sustainability, and has spoken on numerous prestigious platforms such as the Sustainable Brands 2019 Kuala Lumpur, Society for Conservation Biologies 29 International Congress for Conservation Biology or ICCB, Waste Management Association of Malaysia, at the annual conference, and many more. Yeah, she's a very well sought after speaker. So we are very privileged to have Ms. Wee. Over to you, Ms. Wee.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Mr. PK Chan. Good evening and good afternoon and then good morning to everyone. On behalf of MPMA, the Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association, I want to thank the President, Mr. PK Chan of Plastics and Rubber Institute Malaysia for this opportunity to speak on plastic sustainability in the current pandemics. Before I start, allow me to introduce the Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association briefly. The Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association, more commonly known as MPMA, was established in 1967. It is a progressive trade organization providing leadership and quality service to its members and the plastics industries. MPMA is the official voice of the Malaysian plastics industries, representing its members and the industry in government interaction, spearheading the plastics industry's growth by providing the platforms to assist members to be globally competitive. MPMA current emphasis, like Plastics and Rubber Institute Malaysia, we are also upgrading our members in terms of the technological level by providing higher skilled technical for members, in particularly in Industry 4.0 and in all other aspects of the activities. MPMA places special attention to its social responsibilities towards the environment by promoting sustainable practices for the protection of the environment and the community. MPMA currently has about 750 members, comprising of ordinary members, which represents 60% of the plastics industry's manufacturers in the country, which also account for 80% of the country's total production of plastics products. Okay. With this, let me begin my presentation. All right. Before the pandemic, anti-plastic sentiment all over the world. This includes the Malaysian government, who launched the roadmap towards zero single-use plastics in 2018.
Ms. Wee, we can't see your presentation, your PowerPoint.
Oh, you can't? All right, okay.
You have not shared screen?
All right, sorry.
Okay, yes, you're sharing now.
Put on slideshow.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
right.
Fantastic. Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay, so before the pandemic, anti-plastic sentiment was all over the world. This includes our own Malaysian government, who launched the roadmap towards zero single-use plastics in 2018, which plans to eradicate all single-use plastics, including those used in the medical field, by 2030. Then the COVID-19 pandemic took the world by storm, at the end of 2019 and reversed the fate of plastics almost overnight. As demand skyrocketed, says World Economic Forum, the demand for masks, gloves, gowns, and disposable bags. One thing is clear, plastics are indispensable, especially during a pandemic. Plastics, especially these, are being used in many ways to protect us from the COVID-19 virus. They have become lifesavers. Government and people begin to realize the tremendous benefits of plastics, especially in medical, safety, and health sector that has remained unrivaled by other materials. But this also means that more plastic waste has to be handled, and if not managed well, the plastics pollution in the environment will be more severe than pre-pandemic. So plastics went from zero to hero because of the pandemic. While efforts to drive the industry towards sustainability and circularity have been ongoing even before COVID-19, it is time for all stakeholders to accelerate with solutions for a sustainable future for plastics. First off, we must create a circular economy of plastics, where plastics are designed to be recyclable, where us, the consumers, are being inculcated to separate and salvage our waste, our recyclable waste, and where an efficient waste management system will channel the recyclables into the respective recycling facility. And then the recyclates from these facilities will be used again to make a new plastic product. This is the big picture, the ultimate aim for a sustainable plastics economy. Brand owners in Malaysia and around the world have started to walk the talk by designing for recycling. For example, bottles are made label-free to reduce the contaminants of materials, the cross-contaminants of materials. And laminated packaging has been reduced to single material packaging. Again, that is to avoid the potential of cross-contamination when we recycle the materials. And the other brand owners are also going into mono-material packaging so that we can recycle in the respective material bin. Extended producers' responsibilities are being discussed in depth and length between public and the private sectors, also to incentivize collection and take back of recyclable post-consumer waste. The Malaysian Plastics Manufacturers Association and the Malaysian Plastics Recyclers Association, in collaboration with Monash University, Malaysia, has jointly published a white paper on how to build and advance plastics recycling industries to counter the plastics pollution. But the last mile to win the race in creating a circular economy depends on every one of us to separate our waste, be it at home or at work. Let's really do our part for our future generations and not just giving lip service to being green. All it takes is just a quick rinse to save all the recyclable materials from going into landfill. As for the mask, I would like to share this video created by Ms. Ng Teck Shi, our youth head of MPMA. Well, we recognize that the plastics pollution in the environment, especially the marine debris, is a real issue. But we should not attempt to solve the problem by attacking the symptoms, i.e. banning plastics, and overlook the glaring root cause, which is the human behavior of littering. That's it for my presentation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Chan.
Thank you, Ms. Wee, for enlightening and very stimulating talk on the plastics sustainability, during the current pandemics. Yeah, certainly, Ms. Wee highlighted, how indispensable of plastics being used during current situations. And she mentioned about how plastic from zero to hero, and she talked about circulating economy, whereby every one of us has a responsibility, in terms of recycling of waste, segregations of waste material, and we have to walk the talk, as she mentioned. Yeah. And as some examples will be label-free bottles from recycled plastics. And she also mentioned about extended process responsibility. Again, she emphasized we should do our best. Yeah. So with that, any questions from all the participants?
I see Dr. Aris has raised his hand. Dr. Aris, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chat box. Please use the chat function to ask any questions. Okay, there's one question from Ms. Paul.
Okay, the question is, what is label-free bottles? Okay, label-free means usually it's very common now. You will see there's a label surrounding the bottle. Usually the label will they will have all the printed information about the content and the producers and maybe nutritional facts and all. So most of the time, this label is made up of a different material from the bottle material. So it's in fact two different materials. So, but when we throw our material into the recycling, our bottle into the recycling bin, it will be collected as, let's say, the polyester bottle, and then the label will become the contaminants during the recycling process. So in order to avoid this, the way forward is to make sure that every packaging, it's our aspiration to make sure that the packaging is kept to as little material as possible, meaning kept to only one material instead of 2 or 3 materials that makes up the whole packaging. Yeah, so this is the trend moving forward. So if there's no label, there are other ways you can engrave, you can print onto the bottle directly. So there are other ways to do it, right? So the second one is all plastics recyclable? No, but I would say most plastics are recyclable. Maybe it also depends on the availability of recycling technology in the place that we stay. For example, a country may be able to recycle a certain kind of plastics, but the same plastics may not be recycled in another country. That is because the other country doesn't have the recycling technology to recycle it. Therefore, you would tend to have that country shipping their plastic waste into this country that can recycle it. This is in a very simplistic term what is happening. But it doesn't mean that it is bad. It's just that the material is flowing to where it is to be processed and not just dumping. That is wrong, right? But if it is shipped to a place where the factory is waiting, the technology is waiting to process, I think that should be encouraged.
Thank you for the questions.
Oh, sorry. I just want to mention my observations, all right? During this pandemic, we do a lot of online shopping, okay? And most of the time when you go online, you get reviews of the seller. And the review say, okay, this seller is very good. He put double layer, bubble wrap on the product so that it really protects it, then put so many other layers on it, you see. And I myself, initially, when I received all this bubble wrap, I kept it so that I can reuse it. But now it has become so much that it has become a waste, you know, and you get miles and miles of this shrink wrapping, you know. So how do we address that? It seems that the buyers are very happy with that, you know. They give the seller a very good rating because of the packaging itself.
Yeah. Well, I think in the first place, the first job of the plastics packaging is to protect the product from the manufacturer to the distributor and to you, for example, as a consumer. So there is a function for the plastics. So the plastics has performed its function when the product has reached the consumer's hand, and then like you, a very responsible consumer, you have kept it aside in case you want to use it, you can reuse it in the future. So that is the first stage where we call reuse. Okay? Reuse whenever we can, no matter whether it's plastics or even cloth or even paper, whatever material that we have, we should try to reuse. So I fully understand that you kept so much that you have now a little bit too much for your own use. So the second stage will be still, we do not want to throw away. We can send it to a recycling center. Just like when you send the metal or your plastics bottles to the recycling center, you will observe that in Malaysia, we are going into the same recycling center. You don't have to drop the metal off in another place, you know. So yeah, the same thing, all this packaging can go together. So that is how I would do, that is how I would encourage everyone to do, yeah. As long as we try to think whether we can salvage the material from going into the landfill. So as long as we give that a thought, we are in fact, you know, our planet warrior. So I guess the second one will be, do you think biodegradables could solve the plastic crisis? I think this is a very good question. Everybody is asking the same thing, especially in Malaysia, because we have we have so many states, and different states have different legislation. So for example, Kuala Lumpur, all the checkout bags has to be in biodegradables. So I speak only about Malaysia. In Malaysia, we do not have a waste collection system that channels our waste to a composting facility. So when we use biodegradables, all these biodegradables will biodegrade only in a compostable environment. An industrial composting environment is even not existing in Malaysia. So all these biodegradables that we eventually throw away will end up in the landfill just like conventional plastics. So for us in Malaysia, it's very sad that we paid so much upfront to get a biodegradable bag, but we did not reap the benefit of the biodegradable, right? So for us to reap the benefit of the biodegradable, we have to create a closed loop. We have to create the end as well, how we deal with the biodegradable bags so that it does what it's supposed to do, which is to biodegrade. And it will not biodegrade in a landfill because the landfill doesn't give the ideal, the optimum temperature, oxygen level, and humidity. Is additional cost unlike? If so, how can you try? Yeah. Are the plastics recycling steps mentioned today most voluntary or enforced? Plastics recycling is not enforced. It's more voluntary, but very soon, very soon there will be certain legislation that will require everybody to do that, especially the brand owners. It's voluntary, do we think? To take an additional cost, that is where the extended producer's responsibility come in. And in Malaysia, we are very aggressively looking into this because we believe that this is one of the most effective way to encourage people to take back, and most effective way for us to collect from consumers. At this moment, we are not on the idealistic stage already. In Malaysia, I'm very happy to say that over the past few months, the public and the private sectors are engaged very much into coming up with some concrete plans that will see more sustainable plastics economy in Malaysia? Is biodegradable plastic comparable to conventional? No. Biodegradable plastics, for very basic use like your shopping checkout bags, probably that can still be used, but other than that, it doesn't have any other properties that the other plastics have. Are compostable films recyclable? No. Compostable films are not recyclable because if it's recyclable, it has to withstand the heat of reprocessed again. But compostable films are meant to be compostable, composted in the composting environment. Nowadays, we are already on nanoplastics. Yeah, okay. Okay, of course, nanoplastics is a problem. But nanoplastics, if you look at it, it comes in many ways. Many things create nanoplastics. For example, our washing machine, when we wash our clothes, if most of our machine has the trap, the back trap to trap the fibers, okay? For example, okay, that is also nanoplastics because most of our clothes are also polyesters. Even cotton, it has fibers coming out. So yes, that is something that we should pay attention. But nanoplastics is all again because of littering, and if we can control the pollution, and if we can get all the plastics away from the environment and into the circularity loop, then we won't have plastics breaking down in the ocean to create nanoplastics, right? So this won't happen overnight. But like I said again, it starts from us, being the parent, being in the office and all. It starts from us to inculcate this habit of salvaging recyclables, not only plastics, I would say. The fact that all recyclables should be salvaged, that is one thing that we should all really put that into practice. How do we improve the awareness of society on 3R? The awareness, everyone, including the government and some NGOs, you can see that sometimes you can see a lot of activities, to encourage people to bring in their recycles, to sort, to even do ocean cleaning, beach cleaning. So many times we do that. So we hope that it's not only for that campaign period, but it should be a long process. We also go to schools, for example, and not only NPMA, many NGOs, I know that they have school programs to teach the school children. At this moment in Malaysia, we also have a few Internet of Things. For example, in MPPJ, in the Petaling Jaya district, we have using the internet to record the waste that we separate. So, and this data goes back to the municipality, and they will, if we hit a certain target, they will give us the discount on our quit rent yearly. So things like that is how we should be incentivizing the public. Studies show. Okay, that study, I know. I've also heard equivalent to 1 credit card per year or something like that. Well, I'm not sure. I can't comment on that, but if you look at the study, it will say that there's no scientific base, but it's a derivation of what the research links to, right? Okay. Recycling bins at our home is our responsibility, I would say. Yeah, you don't have to have 3 bins, to be honest. I mean, for me, for example, I have 1 main bin. That bin will be everything that goes to the landfill. And then I have 3 plastic bags, big bags, because I cannot be going to the recyclers every day. So I put all my recyclables into these bags. Sometimes I don't even separate between metal, plastics, and paper. I mean, paper, just the newspaper is separated by itself. So the metal and plastics, I just put it together. To save space, I stack them together. I mean, if they're of the same pattern, I stack them together to save space. And I drop it off at the recyclers along the way, on the road. Any recyclers, if I see, I just drop it off. I mean, if you can wait, they will pay you a few cents, but most of the time I'll just drop it off. So at our workplace, we can also do the same thing. Well, if you want to get those yellow and orange bin and all, it's easily available. I mean, of course, you need to buy it, but it's not that expensive. Like I said, I mean, if you want to use a big plastic bag, you can always do that. Yeah. But it takes a while for people to get used to it, but it's certainly it's a beneficial act. And you can imagine the person, when they go home, they will do the same as well. So it has to start somewhere. So like, for example, right now we are all buying a lot of meals from outside, and I always tell people that you can't help it because the meal will come in a plastic tray. But what you can help, for example, if I'm at work, I will use my own utensils instead of the single-use plastics utensils, right? I mean, that is also one way for us to reduce our use. Yeah. So that is one way that you can do it.
Right. Are there any more questions from the participants or from the attendees? Maybe I ask one more questions. Ms. Wee, you mentioned about the roadmap to single-use plastics by 2030.
Yes.
Why it takes such a long? As a layman, it seems that it take quite a long time for us to be able to eliminate the single-use plastics. What's your comment on this?
Because it is just not easy to replace plastics. So yeah, I think because it's just not easy, and the roadmap advocates biodegradables as an alternatives, which in this pandemic, let's say that we are now in 2030, there will be very difficult for us to create that barrier, because biodegradables has very poor barrier, for example. So biodegradables can only use to replace as an alternative for certain usage. But if you say the roadmap says totally no single-use plastics, and single-use plastics include medical devices that is used once, for example, our syringes and all. Those really, at this moment with the technology and material available, I can't see syringes being made of biodegradable materials. Not really, even not in the very near future. Yeah. But then again, why 2030? Because it takes a long time for us to find the alternatives. Anyway, the roadmap is not from Malaysian Plastics Manufacturer Association, it's from the government. Yeah. So let me circle back to answer one question by Sarah. Can laminates be kept in the same bag as monolayer plastics? At this moment, we will do the same, although technically they are different, but because not many people know the difference between laminates and mono. And on top of that, even in laminates, you will have two laminates, two material, or three layer structure, or even 5 layer structure. So I would say all flexibles, no matter whether it's laminate or monolayer, can be kept together and sent to the recycling center.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wee.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, we appreciate, we have 2 speakers who have given us a very insightful, talk on the respective topics, and we are very grateful to them for, spending time with us. And of course, I also like to acknowledge, the participants for raising a lot of questions. I can see a lot of interest generated from their talks. I'm sure you have more questions, you may still can write to us, to PRM, and maybe we can still help to forward your questions to the 2 speakers, when you go back and review what they have addressed to on these 2 topics. Yeah, and I'd like to say thank you again to the 2 speakers, Dr. Roland and Ms. CIV. Really appreciate your time spent with us. I'm personally have enlightened. Thank you again, and I'd like to end the sessions.
Before you end,
wishing you good night.
Take a group photograph. Turn on your camera, your video. Can we have a group photo?
Oh yeah, please. You can, so that you take a photographs. Well, we have to do a small article, for our bulletin.
Where I can see Mr. and Mrs.
For the benefits of those members who are not with us tonight. Yep.
Okay,
can you take the photos? I think we have 31 participants. We have
Don't be shy.
31 participants. Can everybody don't be shy? Everybody in?
We are still waiting for others to.
I can see Dr. Aris is there.
So, okay, let me take one first of here.
Okay, smile.
One more. Let me go to the first screen. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much again.
Good night.
Good night to everybody, or good morning to everybody.
Okay, so
Thank you, PK. Bye.
you end now, huh?
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.